Hi there, Capricorn. Welcome to your mid-July 2025 General Tarot Update. It's Rena here. Before I begin, I just want to call attention to my second channel called Tarot Alchemy with Rena Moon. Right now, I'm mostly doing love readings, and I have been doing some July love readings. I can't remember if I think I've done Capricorn. I can't remember. But if you're interested, it's like for relationships. I'm going to be doing singles for August fairly soon. So you can check out that channel if that interests you. Some people like the tarot more than astrology, but you know, this is my main channel, obviously. So and this is the reason I've been saying this is because I was like laying down the cards, and it seemed like so many times it was like it's relationship issues, and I'm keeping it open for every area of life, you know, whether it's your love life or whether it's your career objectives and things like that, you know. So, okay. 2 cards came out, so I'm going to keep those. All right, so let's see what we've got here. I know this is cut off, but I don't. I guess I could just put it back a little bit. I hold up the cards anyway. Okay. The heart of the matter is the Hermit card, but it's reversed. So it means that you might be rejecting wisdom, even within yourself. Some, you know, wisdom, your intuition about something, which can come from, you know, kind of like your gut level. Let me do the past position here to kind of clarify. The past position is the 7 of Wands. This is a card of standing your ground. It's a defensive posture, though. When you have to stand your ground to someone, that means that you're defending your rights. And that's great. But what does that say about your interaction with that person or that entity? It's saying that they're putting you on the defensive. And even though you may be willing to do it, is that a healthy situation? So an example would be if you're in the workplace and you have a boss who's saying, why did you do that? And you're like, well, because da-da-da-da-da. And you might be perfectly in the right. You know, you might actually be more competent than your boss. You know, sometimes that's what people do when they feel inferior and they are in positions of power. They're going to like plant doubt in their underling's head to try to maintain that sense of superiority. That doesn't mean that they're right. And yet, you know, you have to, you know, to a certain degree, if somebody's saying, why are you doing this, especially if it's a boss, and you know, you can't just say, you know, F off, you know, leave me alone. You have to like explain yourself. But that can become a game. That can become a way that such a person tries to keep you off balance, off kilter. I really think that people do this, and it really sucks that they do this, because to me, it's all about power, like a power play. So what I mean by the Hermit in reverse is that you may see this dynamic playing out. You may not like connect the dots. And same thing, by the way, is in your private life. For instance, you're with someone and they're criticizing your appearance and you're trying to defend yourself. There's a part of you that probably knows this is wrong. They're not supposed to do this. This is not healthy for me to be in that situation. But you're so focused on defending yourself and, trying to make the other person see. And I think sometimes, because I know I have done that as well, is where, we really are giving them the benefit of the doubt that they are truly interested in what we're saying. But something, a lot of times I think that is not the case, that they are really doing that simply. They don't really care about your answer. They're just trying to make you question yourself, doubt yourself. The higher message is the Five of Cups. This can be mourning the loss of something. And what's very interesting is that, as counterintuitive as it may seem, sometimes you have to mourn the loss of something that hasn't officially ended to be able to move forward. So, for instance, you're married. Maybe you even have children. Maybe you even had a happy marriage at one time, but something changed. Who knows? Who knows what it is? You know that it's over with, but you just can't accept it for some reason, because it's the death of a dream. And here I got the death card, right? And yet, by doing so, by accepting that it's over, that's how you get the ball rolling. And so that's the irony of it, is that you have to mourn the loss before you can really let it sink in that it is over with. The grieving process doesn't necessarily just start when somebody is gone. And same thing, even if somebody dies, you know what I mean? Is that, obviously, if it's an accident, we or, those horrible ones are oftentimes the ones like somebody dying at the hands of another person, or from an accident. Those types of things are kind of like a surprise. But if it's a long illness, by mourning it ahead of time, you're able to work through it so that when the actual death comes, you're not as devastated, But in this case, we're talking about more likely not a literal death, but the death of a relationship, the ending of a job. Because if you're in that uncomfortable position at work, that this is taking its toll on you, and something has to change. And it can be this situation where you feel like, gosh, I really didn't want to have to do this. And it can feel like something sad. Maybe there's aspects of it that you really love, but the particular person, they always say it's not the job, it's the people. So, that could be what you're experiencing. What crosses you is the Star card, faith in unseen forces. So that can keep a person clinging to the familiar, even when that familiar is not working out for them. And that is not wise, so that does go along with that card for sure. You have to be able to believe in something before you have the evidence of it. The late Wayne Dyer wrote a book, You'll See It When You Believe It, because they always say, I'll believe it when I see it, when actually it's the other way around. What's coming in? Queen of Wands. Stepping into your power, but stepping into your emotional power. I also think this can be good for creatives, for believing in your gifts. because it's not something that is necessarily encouraged by other people. And it's also being gentle with yourself and with others as you go through this process. The outcome is the Queen of Pentacles reversed. And this is why I picked additional cards, because if there's a card that is reversed, I want to end on like kind of a constructive note and not look at what are the challenges are. Queen of Pentacles reversed can be when you don't feel a sense of, maybe you don't feel a sense of safety with, your material resources. Maybe in some cases there's an over materialism, and I actually got a card that is directly associated with that, which is the Four of Pentacles. Let me just go right to that, because I feel like these cards can talk about that. The Death card is about just kind of really emphasizing something being over with. And that can include a relationship, even if it's only on your end. But I especially think if you still love a person, but that you can tell that something has changed with them, I really feel like that's the big one. And you have to be, the thing that is very hard to impress upon people is understanding that it's no good. Even if you could, like if sometimes, a person's in a marriage and their spouse will initiate a divorce, and that person will contest the divorce, or they'll try to keep it from going through. And it's like, it's just delaying the inevitable. But also think about what you're really doing. You're trying to force somebody to be with you. That's not the proper energy under any circumstances. Even if you can use the excuse, oh yeah, but our children need an intact family. Well, it's not intact. If the love isn't there, it's going to be a Cold War. So you don't want that kind of energy in your home. Sometimes there are financial considerations. I think the Queen of Pentacles reverse can really speak to that. But that's just considerations. Doesn't mean that for the rest of your life you have to put up with something. And the Four of Pentacles, this is a card of sound money management, financial security. So again, I mentioned this before, just because somebody feels financially insecure doesn't mean that they are. Some people, and this can be from, I honestly believe this can be from past life influence, where maybe they were in the poorhouse, they were destitute, they suffered greatly from not having money, that they're terrified of that ever happening again. And so they're constantly trying to earn more and more money and save more and more money, but it never is enough because it's an inside job. It's not coming from a rational place. And so that's why you have to really take into account what you're subjecting yourself to. Going back to the Hermit in reverse and the Seven of Wands, because you could be doing something very foolish thinking that you're making yourself safe when you're actually putting yourself in jeopardy. So sometimes the Four of Pentacles can be over concerned with the material resources. And so in this case, it's like not realizing, hey, that is the case. I also think that there could be something with an inheritance, and this could be like with mother-in-law. Maybe one of them is the villain, one of them is, and what this could mean is that you are fighting for your piece of the pie, but the Hermit in reverse is like, at what cost? Because, or even like a divorce, where, like the War of the Roses, where it's like, I'm going to take that person to the cleaners, or I'm going to, try to get as much as possible, or keep them from as much as possible. Really, as a spiritual message, what it's saying is that there can be deeply felt grief that you're not acknowledging, that has been maybe underlying grief. If somebody died and you're just like in that fighting mode of like, I'm going to get this will, and actually, come to think of it, that was Mars retrograde was in your 8th house. So there could have very easily been some Capricorns, like more than a few, who experienced this very issue where you were in a fight for shared resources. But it's like, you don't want to gain the world and lose your soul. That's what I see with the Hermit in reverse. Okay, that's what I have for you, Capricorn. I hope that this resonated. If you would like a private reading, I do astrology and the tarot. Please check the link below for more information. Take care. Bye.